Hi guys. So one of the most important aspects and the most important tool, the most important thing that I've come to see to be to be the one as I've been living in Kenya. I've been living in different areas and doing what I do, trying to interact, trying to be part of everyday life. It's the language, and even more so being involved in traditional things. And Kenya has an advantage, and I have an advantage because I've learned English from school and from exposure here in Sweden. There's a lot of exposure to English through series, videos, and movies, internet, and other things. And we do learn English in school. Although I was not the best one in school, I was actually the one of the ones who almost failed continuously in my English classes. But anyway, English has been important. But in Kenya, English is not it's not always enough. When you speak English as a foreigner, you definitely directly be viewed as someone who is there temporarily, and that you're a foreigner on a visit. And also there are quite a lot of people that does not know English. Those who know English are the ones who have gone in education and a bit further in education, like secondary school graduates normally know quite well English, and also those who have gone through primary school have had good teachers in English. It differs a lot in the rural places. There might not be very good educational system for English, and in towns it might be better. But anyway, English is a limitation. So since I've been in Kenya for the last now 6 years, I've been there 6 months a year. I have exposed myself to other languages, and in Kenya there is a it is complicated because there are 43 different tribes, and all of them have their own native language, and then there is Swahili. So I have been exposing myself to learning Masai and Ilchamus and Samburu, who are similar to each other, because I have been interacting mostly with these communities, and I've been very interested in learning more cultural things and talking with elders and talking with people who are not who are more into culture. And generally those who are more into culture have not gone to school and they do not know English so well. So language has been very important. So there's been this confusion because I've been interested to learn the Maasai language. I've been interacting with Ilchamus and Samburu, which Ilchamus and Samburu, I would say they speak Samburu, although there are two different dialects of Samburu, and they are similar to Maasai, but not really 100% the same. So focusing on these two, it has been difficult to swap, to change, although I've tried, and it has made me to be behind a bit about Swahili. And Swahili is very important language also, as it's important to the other groups that I do interact with, the other Kenyans that do know Swahili quite well. And even Swahili is really used, especially for the rural people and for most tribes to interact with each other. So it's the kind of language that Kenyan learn to interact with other communities that do not have the same mother tongue. And when you have the same mother tongue, they normally interact in that mother tongue. So Swahili has been behind a bit, but I've not been fully behind. I've not been behind to the extreme. I've actually learned quite a lot of Swahili. I've been able to communicate in the basics, I would say, in greetings and in talking about simple things. And 1 year ago, I came to the conclusion that now the kind of plans that I have for Kenya, I will be very much in need of interacting with other people, and I will very much be in need of interacting with government officials, as I do tend to settle in the future in Kenya officially. I do see it as a quite important tool to be able to speak Swahili fluently to government officials, because there is this, especially if I want to become a resident in Kenya and maybe in the future become a citizen, there is this respect and this kind of listening when you speak Swahili that you don't get when you speak English. There is this conception of being a visitor does change quite dramatically, and it changes the more I tend to speak, the better I tend to speak, the more that conception is removed, and Swahili is really important. It is quite different. A foreigner who lives in Sweden, who learns Swedish, I would say the Swedish people they appreciate, but in most terms they like, what comes up in the mind is still this a foreigner. He's learning the language and he can't the language fully. So Sweden is a very much perfectionist society where the Swedish people really wants the foreigners to come in and learn the language and learn it to the perfect, you shouldn't make correct errors. So for someone to, and we have a lot of foreigners in Sweden. So the moment there is a foreigner here who knows Swedish, it's not something strange, it's normal. And we tend to look at like the negative side. This guy, he doesn't know Swedish to this extent and blah blah blah. How funny, he said this word instead of this one. But in Kenya, the moment you speak just one word or few words in the mother tongue or in Swahili, I know these guys, they really love it, and there is this appreciation, really strong appreciation, because I'm from the group of people that I come from the European group. To speak Swahili is not that common, and Kenyans really appreciate, and they like it, and they become happy, and starts a conversation, and there is this breaking of, okay, this isn't a foreigner, this is a foreigner, but this isn't a visitor. This one has stayed there for some time, and this bondage is so interesting. So that leads me to really be interested to learn Swahili more. Also now, as I am doing some projects in Kenya, starting the permaculture, and some employees I have, they don't speak English, and I've been communicating first in Samburu, and that's fine, but my Samburu isn't perfect either. I'm quite far from there, but we've been able to communicate in the day-to-day operations of the farms. But I've come to see now, when I stay in Sweden, it's quite difficult for me to practice the Samburu and have this kind of concept where I can learn the language well, or using books, or using some study materials. So I have decided all of these things. I have decided I will focus on Swahili first now. That I've been focusing on Maasai, Samburu, and Swahili at the same times. It has confused me, and it has made me to be behind in the language, although I'm not all that bad, I would say, but I still have a way to go, and my personal goal is to be fluent in at least one of the Maya languages, and it will likely be Samburu now, because I'm marrying in that community, and Swahili, yes. So, having said all that took me 12 minutes to say, at least, yeah, I've started now. For the last 1 year, I've focused on Swahili. So what do I do? I do every day. I've written down in my phone. I have my notes. So I've written down the words that I want to learn, and then I practice. Every day I practice, and after some days I do a checking. Okay, these words, I have learned them, then I take them down then I wait for a few weeks, and then I'll come to practice again every 3 days. And when I learn them in that stage, so the same time I do those things, every 3 days I continue practicing new words every day. After I see, okay, and now I've conquered this word, for I can at least for some time in a row, I've been able to get them right, like a week or 3 days. 3 days, that's like 9 days. So if I've been able to check it every 3 days, and after the third time, if I still know it, I take it down again. And this time I just put the Swahili word, and then I don't put a translation, and then I wait for 1 month. Then the system that I made in these notes, then after 1 month, I'll check it again, and if I know it, I take it down again. If I don't know it, I start over. So I practice every day, and then I wait for a month, and then I practice every 3 days. So, and then I take it back, and then I put with the translation, and then I wait for a month again. And if I can remember it now, it has really, really been a long period. It's like, it has been more than 3 months since I started to practice the word, that I check it again. And if I know that word by that time, I do say like, okay, I know this word. I can remove it from this list, and I can put it in the the words that I know. And I've been doing similar things before, although the details of the system, I've changed it over the year. But I see it's working really well, and the really important thing is that I do practice every day, even if it's just 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Practice every day, so important, and I started to get quite good results. And then that I have a system that I let myself to wait for some time, because just because I know the word after a week of practice doesn't mean I will know the word after a month of not using the word. Yes. So, but after like 3 months of checking it every 1 month, I do believe that I know the word quite well. So after doing that, I put it in my list of words that I know, and when I did start this, I had a list in Samburu, and I had a list of the words that I know of to be 600, and the Swahili list was 300 words. And this has been words that I've chosen to be from the Swahili, has really been the one that I've been wanting to know. So it's really about 300 words that I've been important for me to know, the first ones that I really want to know, about the kind of conversations that I've been in contact with in my day-to-day conversations as I've been in Kenya with different people. So these 300 words have actually taken me quite far to be able to have quite some conversations, and at least when I've been able to meet someone, I've been able to communicate well. This person, I've realized, okay, this guy is not a visitor in that sense that he's just here for a short time. He has been here for a longer time, and we've been able to talk about quite some things, where I'm from, where he's from. Actually, these 300 words have really taken me quite far. So there's been this introductional conversation that's been able to go on for 5 minutes or 10 minutes normally, and after that there's been this limitation where if you want to take the conversation to a deeper state, it has been difficult. So during this 1 year of practicing every day, I have been able to conquer 300 more words. So these 300 first words that I have been able to conquer after 5 years of going and coming, going and leaving Kenya. And that's been about 6 months every year in that country. So it's physically been in Kenya for 2.5 years. I was able to conquer about 300 words. And that was in the sense of practicing, but not really being so into the practicing. So for the last 1 year, I've been able to double those words, and I do believe I have a system that really can tell that I've actually been able to double the words and that I know these words because of that shaking after quite some long time of not using the word. Yeah, so that's really interesting, and I can really say, and one of the results that I have is through the people that I communicate to in Kenya, through my friends. They can say, like, so many of them have said, like, wow, you have really improved in your Swahili, you have really improved. and most of the time now I can actually see I have improved, and I have conquered Swahili more than I had conquered Samburu language, or Maasai language. So that is good. And in the conversations we have, I can really, really, really hear a lot of things, and we can really, really talk a lot. And if we start the conversations in Samburu or Maasai, the moment we don't understand each other, I can now choose to switch to Swahili, and we will be able to know each other to a very high extent in the type of conversation that we have. And it's just a few words all the time that I'm like, okay, when I listen, I can really pick them up, but when I speak, it can be more difficult. So I'm going far. I expect in another 1 year, I'll be probably have reached that goal of 1,000 words, because I have during this year I've actually increased the time of practicing, and now I will be more in Sweden, and I do see there's a lot of free time for me here, and there's a lot of time that I want to spend on the Swahili, because when I do practice the Swahili, I do become reminded about Kenya. I do become reminded about that life. I do get connected to that life, and I feel happy about that. So it's something to improve my life also, be able to practice this language. So that is one aspect. Is the phone and notes and putting in the words that I want to learn. And now maybe these words that I have learned, to some extent, they are not the most important ones that I have learned first, because, and it might not be the one that I have been like exposed, needed for my day-to-day conversations, but because what I've done is I've added to this kind of learning. This learning, I use 10 to 15 minutes a day for this learning. But what I've added to that is I've downloaded an application on the phone also that is called Duolingo. So Duolingo is really, really nice. It has Swahili, and I was surprised about that. But maybe I shouldn't be so surprised. Swahili is spoken by more than 100 million people in East Africa, which is 10 times more than 10 times more than Swedish. So in terms of amount of people, it's really, really an interesting language, and there's a lot of people that can communicate with using it. So I've started to use Duolingo, and normally I do use it every day. Once in a while I miss it, but I have used it quite for some extent, almost every day, and I'm now. For those who know Duolingo, I am now, just to give you an idea, I am now about 5,600 points. This means for every game that I've done and practice, you get 10 points or so. So I've done around 500 games in this one during this period. So that is where I stand in it. I do recommend Duolingo. It's really good, and it is free compared to the others that I tried, because they wanted to put a fee. Oh, excuse. they wanted to have a fee of about 100 kronas, crowns, Swedish crowns per month, which I saw was a lot. So I started to use Duolingo, that is for free, but it has adverts, and that's fine with me. And you can extend it to the pro version, and when you do that, you will be able to use it without the ads, and you'll be able to use it offline and other things. So I do recommend the app, and I do not get any economical benefit of recommending the app, but I do recommend the app because it does really help me, and I do recommend using other applications. So what's really interesting is I'm in general, I see I'm starting to learn. Not only that I learn the language more, I'm starting to learn how I can practice and learn the language faster and better, and so really importance is motivation. I'm motivated. I have a reason to learn the language. I have friends who I use the language. I use the language when I communicate to my fiancée sometimes, though we also use Samburu and English, but we use Swahili quite often. So I am able to practice the language almost every day, even talking, and I do practice the words, new words every day. I add on average about 3 words that I want to practice every day, which is not bad. I've come to see that's a good level for me at this point. So practice, and yeah, everything is possible.